Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Mike Beer with producer Bobby helping us out for a Saratoga graded stakes race on Sunday. Let's talk about some of these two-year-old fillies in the grade 3 Adirondack, $175,000 up for grabs on Sunday. And Mike, we actually have the two-year-old filly that has earned the highest buyer speed figure for a filly, second as a two-year-old only to Brant, who earned that 101 speed figure, that monster that Bob Baffert unleashed last week. So 93 this early on in June when Mythical earned that speed figure, like that's a monster number for this filly who's 2 for 2.
Not going to see a lot of figures in the 90s that early in the year, especially for a 2-year-old filly. She's run twice, Gino. She's been razor sharp both times, and I think it's at least worth pointing out too that the big figure that she earned last time, it came right over this track.
Now you look at some of the other players in here. Horses like Iron Orchard to the outside was impressive. I mean, we literally have an entire field coming off wins, so that's what makes this race kind of fun. Is that you don't have even any of those horses who are maybe talented maidens who didn't get the job done. All of these horses got into the winner's circle at least once so far. Let's see what the projector thinks, Mike, because generally when you have these young horses, a lot of them are flashing speed. They're getting out front early on. When Mythical seems to be the quickest in here, but Iron Orchard was very fast from the outside. We could expect Prospector right next door to also show some speed because that worked for her in the career start number 2.
Yeah, she did. She really improved. Spot Prospector did in her second start. Didn't show a lot of speed in her debut, even though she took a lot of money. But on the wet track last time, she was much more clued in. We'll see, Gino, if any of these horses can go with Mythical early. Because one thing you know about her, if you've seen either or both of her 2 starts so far, she is really fast.
She gets out of the gate so quickly. We can
Yes.
move to the race that we have of Mythical right now as we meet the field. We have a replay of her, and she just instantly opens up, crosses over, and she was like a length clear of the field. This is at the top of the lane here. She gets a little bit of a challenge, and then she just puts that one away and draws off. And this was beating the boys in this spot also, which early on in the two-year-old years, a lot of the time isn't that big of a deal. We see this happen sometimes, but it's still worth mentioning that she beat probably a better group, comes back and is getting almost some class relief here. My only question with horses like this, Mike, and I think you and I are going to talk about another one in a Saratoga Stakes race for Sunday, when they get a big figure sometimes, can they move forward or can they only regress? But with a horse like this, can she even regress a lot and still get the job done?
Yeah, I guess that's a valid way to look at it too. Yeah, you want to concern yourself though with stuff like that when you're talking about a horse who's going to be a very short price. I mean, if nothing else, it doesn't mean you have to talk yourself into somebody else, but you should at least be trying to poke holes in this horse and see if you can find a way to take a shot against her. I think the other thing that we should mention too, Gina, you showed the Tremont rather last time where she beat the boys. 2 races later on that same card, they ran the Astoria for 2-year-old fillies. They could have run her there. Her
Yeah.
connections entered her against the boys when there was another option there. So I think that probably bodes well for her too. The thing I was most concerned with about her, if I was going to take a shot against her, Gino, is she's been 4.5 and 5.5. Now she's got to go 6.5, and it may not sound like much, only a furlong. It's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, but that's this point in their development, and she draws the rail also. So she does have a couple horses to her outside that have some speed. If she's a step slow, maybe coming out of there, and then she gets behind horses down on the inside, just all little things you want to talk about for a horse who is going to be a very short price. Spa Prospector is the 2. She really showed improvement in her second start, Mike. She drew the rail, but she ends up winning on a sloppy track, and she did get 6 furlongs. It's just a small thing to mention, but as you were pointing out, she's the only horse in this field who has gotten 6 furlongs, so she just has a little bit more foundation than some of the rest in here. What do you think about her chances?
Yeah, I feel like she took the step forward last time that you wanted to see her take, because again, she took a lot of money for her debut at Churchill and just didn't really do that much running in there. I mean, she had sort of brief speed in there, but she just got outrun by those horses and never really made much of an impact at all. So at least it was nice to see her move forward last time, because it feels like these connections really liked her on the way into the debut. It was on a wet track last time. She did make a pretty easy early lead that day and never really faced a challenge. So we'll see. This is going to be way harder for her, Gino, but she ran fine last time.
When two-year-olds early on in their season show that they can sit off and pass horses, I always take a note. And we have a couple of them coming up in a row right here, starting with the 3 Angel Gift. This horse actually was like last early on in the race and ends up coming about 4 lengths off, moves up gradually without really being asked. And then as soon as they sort of shook her up a little bit, she really looked impressive. And Mike, when I'm looking at young horses, she kind of checks a lot of boxes for me because she did it on the track. She showed us she could pass horses. She's proven over this racetrack at Saratoga, and she's got a nice pedigree too. Her dam won her first two, including the Grade 3 Skyerville at Saratoga. She's a half sibling to Cave Rock, who's a multiple Grade 1 winner. Was second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and won the first couple starts of their career. So there's precocity, there's talent, there's ability. She showed she could finish off the races. I think if somebody or if a couple can push Mythical, this to me is one of the horses that would really benefit.
Agree with everything that you just said there, and I don't really want to add too much to it. We'll just take a look at the replay here. We're not showing you the start of the race. This is at the beginning of this race. She sort of got in a little bit and bumped between horses, and that's why she was, sort of to the back of the field early. But you're 100% right the way that you laid out the race that she ran after that. Just sort of rolled up on these horses on her own power. Was very confidently ridden by Irad Ortiz and just dusted these horses through the stretch. This was only a 61 buyer, but I don't, you should really take that with a grain of salt. She did a lot of running in there.
And when you think about the barns rolling, and Irad is riding really, really well at the meet. So if they need to pick this horse up a little bit, maybe you can get that right now from the both of them. Tis in Sight sat off the pace at Churchill Downs, Mike, in her only race. That was back on June the 25th. She had a fine start. She took back. She was third inside. She was within 2 lengths. She angled out 3 wide and in between. And then she kind of pushed her way into the clear. I thought it was a pretty nice effort from her, just kind of showing some grit and determination. What'd you think about that debut and how she fits here?
Yeah, liked how professional she was more than anything else in that debut. Because you're right, it seemed like she could have made the lead in there. She broke running. They sort of asked her for speed, but she was fine when some horses cleared her from the outside, sat in behind. And as you mentioned, it's not like she just automatically came clear in the stretch and everything worked out. I mean, she had a horse right alongside the entire way. She sort of had to come through between horses. Thought she did a lot of really nice things in that race. She's just going to have to run better against this field.
The next horse, Meringue, certainly has talent. I just didn't know what to do with her changing surfaces in this spot because she misses the break. She's last. She's almost 10 lengths off in her career debut. She wins a race that a 2-year-old filly, first time out of the box, going 5 furlongs on the turf, shouldn't win as she comes closing. But how is that going to translate now coming over to the dirt, going 6.5 furlongs against a pretty tough group?
Yeah, it's a big question. And that's why, listen, if she's, they have her double digit odds of the morning line, if she's around that price, it probably makes it easier to just take a positive view
Yep.
on her because man, her debut was good. I mean, sort
So
of,
good.
she got bumped really hard at the start of that race and sort of knocked back. So it's not clear that she doesn't have any speed. I mean, she just almost got eliminated at the start of the race. She still made a huge run in there.
Why
And
too?
it's not like she's got some kind of huge turf pedigree. I mean, there's plenty of dirt, or at least some pedigree to suggest she can handle the dirt. I thought she was a real wild card in here. She ran really well first time out.
Yeah, and he hasn't had the greatest start to the meet right now, but you get Pratt aboard, so you're going to have
Yeah.
a good ride in one of the best. Got to be live there. Iron Orchard, very impressive winner, first time out of the box, was geared down and still won by 5.5. Earned a nice 75 buyer speed figure. It's pretty tough to knock that performance. She's just going to have to face a pretty tough group here.
Yeah, very visually impressive in the debut. We'll take a look at the stretch run right now. I mean, she opened up on this field right from the start, never gave them a chance. And you can see how easily she wins her debut, Gino. Obviously, the word was out on her. Before that, she trained really well up to it. She took all the money in here and she just ran this field off their feet. Although she did it, if you look at just the way the race was run, a half and 46 and change, they're going to go way faster than that in here. So we'll see if she can keep up. But nothing to knock about her debut. She looked good.
Just a field of 6 in the Adirondack, but some very talented fillies here that have shown some real ability early on in their career. Mike, as we move to selections for this one, Mythical is going to be super tough to beat. But you and I both think that maybe the 3 is a horse who could show some talent in this field and maybe get a setup.
I like where you're going there. I like that you want to maybe take a little shot here because I thought about doing that Gino Angel Gift. I thought about putting her on top. I think she has some kind of a chance in here. Ultimately, just the way that Mythical's running her first 2 starts and how fast she was last time. I ultimately just decided to stick with her. I know it's like the boring pick in here at a really short price, but I was mostly 1-3. Very interested to see what the 5 does, though, switching to dirt here. Her debut was good.
Highest buyer for a 2-year-old filly so far. Mythical earned that 93. For Mike, 1356. For me, 3164. Whoever you play, however you play them, we wish you the best of luck.